it's all happening.
Recording in progress. Would you love to do the honors, Angela? This is
I
your
would.
interview, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's like one of those days where everything and nothing goes to plan. And yet here we are. Welcome, everyone. I'm the kinesiologist. My name is Angela Skibberus, and I'm really honoured to be here today with one of my favourite kinesiologists. Though Anikiko is far more than a kinesiologist, she will explain her involvement in music nutrition and quantum bio health maths and going quantum in that way with light and sound and frequency. She is the queen of frequency, we say in this industry. And it's just such a pleasure to welcome her here today. We're going to spend a bit of time talking about all things kinesiology, how you your journey towards becoming a kinesiologist. You've got a really amazing, powerful story about that. What drew you to becoming a kinesiologist? What you see it as, how you see it benefiting people, and then moving into the things that really light you up these days. So take it away. Tell us a little about yourself,
Well,
Anu.
so which question would you like me to answer first?
Okay, so how did you first come to kinesiology?
Well, that's a great question. It's really interesting how you end up falling into or aligning into your passion career, right? And for me, it was actually a bunch of health issues I experienced as a teenager. I had autoimmune challenges. I was really actually unwell, and it was due to I think a lot of emotional stresses that were going on, what it was like acclimating to a new country. We actually came from Czech Republic, my family, and I think that that was quite a burden and a challenge, even though it was a choice towards freedom, and even though it was a move towards giving everything that they could for their children. As a result of really moving to Australia, there was different stresses. Both my parents were musicians, and that definitely took its toll in terms of how we could really, as I said, acclimate into a new country and for them to give their children everything they needed. But I think what really was the challenge there around the ages of 12 and 13, I started to really have so much stress, immune problems. I was in and out of sleeping a lot. I couldn't quite find what was wrong with me until there was a diagnosis. I went to hospital and I was sort of at the 2 hours away from death. I think, when you've written a book, Angela, called Death the Door, right? And Become
Yeah,
the Key. That's a good
yeah.
little segue into your amazingness and what you've created, and death definitely was the door for me at the age of 12 and opened me into what assisted me beyond way beyond the medical system, was getting me into a really amazing place with taking my health into my own hands. And as a teenager, not quite 13 yet, I was practicing kinesiology, learning about kinesiology, and I realized that this is all I want to do. And I said, Mum, here you're paying for all these sessions for me to see a kinesiologist, and yet this is really this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel so grateful for having this health issue. And so I started studying more and more. I was doing back then. This is going back about is this going about 28 years ago, I think.
Oh,
And I was
goodness.
doing, touch for health on weekends and muscle testing, learning about the body, learning about the circuits, learning about all this amazing stuff until a couple of years later, it just became very intuitive knowledge, like learning the pathways of the body, the energy systems, the chakra systems, everything that kinesiology incorporates, applied kinesiology, really looking into the dynamics of all of the physical and biological stuff. But then as you get a little older, you get to appreciate the relationship side of things in terms of how complex beings we are as beings, and the relationship of all things, and the relationship not just that our emotions have with our physical symptoms and so on and so forth, but also about our family relationships, where you are in your family constellation, etc. So all of that is incorporated to what I do in kinesiology, and I started to basically practice it while I was finishing a psychology. I was at university doing psychology, because back then my parents were like, look, we think it's cool that you're not just out at parties, raving, drinking like a lot of other teenagers, but come on, you really need to do something real, you know. And I was just like, hold on, this
Yeah.
is coming from musicians. They said all their life, you're not allowed to be a musician. Don't you dare
Yeah.
become a musician. Well, look at what I do with music now. They said, don't you dare.
Yeah.
I don't make any money. And they said, however, you know, you really, the kinesiology is great. You're very good at it. I already had clients at like 17, 18 years old. I started working with clients back then. And they said, even though that's great, that's just a hobby. You need to do something real, you know, something solid. So I finished the degree, did psychology, finished my university degree, and I had already started a clinic at that age. So yeah, I was running 3 clinics when I was 20, 21, and off we go. And I've never stopped learning. I've never stopped learning. I really think the key is in learning, and yeah, I've never stopped learning.
So what is it that you, for people who have never heard of kinesiology before, I think one of the stands that I have for the next 12 months at minimum is to speak to as many kinesiologists as possible so that we can truly demystify kinesiology, because I experience people saying, kinesi what is that? How does it work? You know, people try to explain to other people what happened in the session and often find it really difficult to explain. And I think that's something that I would really love to, like I said, demystify in the next 12 months. Yes, there are some things that are a little bit inexplicable about the sessions, but I think there is a real science to it to a degree, and a real process that we do go through, and certain parts of the nervous system and the body that we're accessing. So in your own words, how do you see kinesiology, and how would you describe it to someone who's never experienced it before?
Look, I think that's a great problem that is in the community for kinesiologists and for people who experience kinesiology, because many people walk away or going, oh my God, don't know what happened. It was amazing. It opened all the doors, and it was just, you got to go try it, right? I think that's enough to get people in the door. Because once you become good in terms of good at what you do, people start to want to break down the how and what actually happened. But sometimes you just can't explain away magic and synchronicity and alchemy of all things that are beyond just a process. Of course, there's a scientific process to it, 150%. And we do have protocol, and we have a way, and a way that is always, you know, client-based, to access information from their nervous system, from their field, from their biofield, from their holographic field, all the fields that they're part of. We have ways to get in and get really accurate information for the benefit of the person's expansion, and for the benefit of them completing and joining their own dots in their own life. I think that's one of the keys. Like, really, the long and the short of explaining what happens in a kinesiology session is that we help you get what you want. It doesn't matter what it is. And we do it by accessing what might be some of the blocks that your nervous system shows and presents, and as well as your energy system. And we basically get up under the bonnet, up under the hood of what's holding you back, without overanalyzing anything, because the only information that comes up is what you're ready to hear, is what you're ready to recognize in yourself, and what you're ready to also assimilate and elevate with, to assist you to go to that next level of what you want to do.
Exactly.
So does that explain it? Is that clear?
Yeah, it is. It's clear, and I think too, it's
Hi there, Elena. I just want to acknowledge, just before you go on, let me just acknowledge a couple of the people who are live.
Yes.
Hi there, Elena. How there, Katie? Sausage. Hi there. We know who you are. Hi there, Catherine. Hi there, Coffee Bean House. Coffee Boss. No, not Bean House. I need a coffee so I can. Hey there, Hudzy. And Jamie and Kay, all of you guys. Hey there. If you've got any questions, you know, Dream Doula. Oh, hi there, darling. Who is Dream Doula? What's your name? The funny thing is, you don't always remember. Tara, there you go. Thank you. You don't always remember people's Instagram handles, right? And so you're wondering if you're talking to strangers or if you're talking to good friends from way back.
Yes.
sisters
Yes.
from other mothers, all that kind of thing.
I
So
actually didn't know who Katie Sausage was for ages, but now I do. So
yeah, it just sounds so odd coming from you. Hey there from the sausage. Listen, everyone online, this is not sexual on any level. This is actually a dear friend
yeah,
of ours who's
it is.
also a kinesiologist and a massage therapist. So hey
Yes.
there, Reza. So you know, so I just want to acknowledge you guys. Thank you for joining. And this is a process whereby Angela, who's an incredible kinesiologist, is interviewing me,
Yes.
a colleague and friend,
Yes.
kinesiologist also.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'd love to know, so you had your own health struggles, which is a common story that you hear a lot of kinesiologists. I know I even have my own clients who have had such remarkable experiences with kinesiology that they've now gone on to become kinesiologists themselves, and that's often how we fall into these things at times. We have an amazing experience for ourselves and are so inspired we wish to share it, which is such a wonderful thing in the kinesiology community. And I support all those people. I've got at least 2 or 3 at the moment who long-term clients who are now. I had a text 2 or 3 days ago from a young man named Thomas who's in the middle of his initial training and calling me if I would like a session. You think, wow, that's the impact that we've had on people over time. So, so for someone who's been a kinesiologist for beyond 20 years, is there something that you love particularly about the way that you work with people, the types of outcomes that you've seen over time? Any examples of things that you've said, wow, that's just really blown me away, and just the way that you've
Oh gosh, there's just, there's so many. There's not a particular favorite way. Like today, I did a session with somebody and I really got into some stuff I hadn't worked with for a long time, and I love how everyone who comes has such a unique, different experience. And today we dropped into some amazing light language, which is actually not a kinesiology thing for those of you out there.
yes.
Light language is definitely not. It's, I think that's probably my kind of thing. Um, you know, uh, I've dropped into working with light language and sound at a whole new level, and so today was an odd thing where the client brought that out of me, and they requested that, as in not going, hey, I came in here for you to do some light language today. I'm like, well, no, that's what actually came up as a result during a session. It also came up with those beautiful Altera beautiful sprays that about our friend makes, our friend distributes here. So it's incredible what magic gets brought out of every session. Not one session is the same. But one of the things that might stand out for me is this beautiful client that I had who was referred to me from another client. That's basically, one thing is you don't advertise as a kinesiologist.
No.
You just don't need to. You just it always leads, like somebody sends somebody else, and it's just such a unique journey. And it's all part of that journey of getting to your self-knowing, self-remembrance, self-knowledge. When you're working with someone who's got a large amount of references, let's say, when I say references, they've actually been through a lot of experiences in life. Like I love to work with seasoned people because they've just gone through all sorts of interesting things that your soul kind of goes, oh my goodness, I want that from your database. I want that from your library. I want that from your library. Having said that, I'll say another thing is that sometimes there's some beings and individuals who they haven't had a lot of life experience, but they have so much wisdom in their being, they're very young and they look like a new soul, but they're just pour gold keeps dropping out of their mouth, right? And so it doesn't mean that they have to make more. For me to get advice from some of these people or work with, they don't have to have been a mother to give me motherly advice. They don't have to have been a kinesiologist to give me value. They don't have to have been a multi 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur to teach me something about business. I just really believe that when you're open and ready, some of these people that I've worked with and received from have given me just as powerful information or insights into myself, being a fresh out of school kinesiologist or a seasoned one. And I like to work with both. However, working with like the somebody who's got a lot of experience, you just feel sometimes your soul is drawing from their real life felt experiences, and that's incredible. And so I was working with a client who probably came to be about 13 years ago, and he was wanting to turn his personal life into the success that his business life was.
Right.
And one of the things that we do in the work is that, you know, you can, if you don't have health or if you don't have a relationship fulfillment or happiness, it's sometimes very hard to be happy. You might have the wealth or you might have a successful business, but it's no good to you if you don't know how to communicate with somebody that you love. It's no good to you if you don't know how to really find a way to have a vitality in your body. And this particular person wanted to shift that. So over the years, we worked on his self-value. We got him into operating, believing, functioning at a layer and a level that you know, he's now happily remarried with, you know, a beautiful baby that he's just had. And it was actually thanks to him that opened my door to a business world of entrepreneurs that I could then assist. So that's a beautiful
Yes.
client story of somebody who's gone through, yes, having a successful business, possibly not having the self-image or the self-worth to just go, hey, I'm worthy of incredible relationships as well. I'm worthy of having this, and this. To being all of that, you know, and a bag of chips or whatever you want to say, is being all of that. And that's a beautiful, just a journey. And to somebody that I would feel comfortable. Actually, I was comfortable inviting him to my wedding. You know, that's how
Yes.
close the client relationship can have.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of incredible moments that I always feel totally humbled because I'm purely the witness. I'm so
Yes.
lucky that these people get to unravel or evolve or do something in front of me where I get to witness it. And all I needed to do was do a little bit of a tap ting whatever in a session to go, hey, this is all that really needed, that little touch, that little reminder, that little nudge of the remembrance of really you and what you want to create.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And recuperating from anything that was, you know, remaining within the person as something that was still, you know, unfinished or
yeah,
stressful or whatever. And that's actually a beautiful segue into you know, what's been almost like something that you've been very naturally good at from the outside looking in, knowing, you know, not every kinesiologist, but a lot of kinesiologists, and they all have their niche. They tend to focus in more the emotional area. Some are very in the physical realm with muscles and things like that. There are sports kinesiologists where the whole focus is movement and all that kind of thing. And that's what a lot of people imagine kinesiology to mostly be. Um, Though a lot of people would associate, because of your success, like very much so a financial and a business success as a kinesiologist, um, the packages that you've created and the ability that you have to work with people who wish to break through big ceilings in finance or in business. And if, for example, if someone was to say to me, oh, you know, I've got a multi-million-dollar business and I'm having this issue with myself inside of it, I would send them to you, because it's like you created a bit of a niche and an understanding of people who are trying to access more of themselves in that realm. Yeah, is that something that you really love to do with people in particular?
oh, look, I think that's a lovely point you highlighted. I mean, I kind of forgot about it, you know, but it's there. Yeah, it's definitely there. I started to more rebrandify, so to speak, as less of just a, not just, it's so hard to, I actually want to totally delete that word. I saw myself as more than a kinesiologist. I saw
Yeah.
myself as an alchemist. And when I really feel into the energy of being an alchemist, that's much more accurate to what we do. Kinesiology is amazing because of the process and the protocol, and it's the 28 years as a foundation for me, right?
Mm.
However, when I started to see that it was business people who were really unhappy, and when I say business, I don't just mean multimillionaires or this or super successful. I just started to see that I wanted to make an impact on others who would impact others. So if I
Yeah.
was going to work with someone, it would have like a 10 and a 100-fold effect, because if they're running a company or running a business or small business,
That's right.
they're seeing a lot of people, if they're doing speaking or if they're doing all sorts of activations out in the world, if I could work
Yeah.
with those people, then those activations would faster accelerate literally the planet and what we're here to do as
Yeah.
star seeds, as people who are truly raising the vibration, the consciousness for us to go where we need to be, you know, more as light beings, less dense beings. And I think with the business side of things is that when you work with somebody who has had a certain level of experience in building something, Doesn't matter what it is. If I could tell you how many tradies I've had in here, men who are tradies who are working in construction, or men who are in real estate, or men who are building a chiropractic, center or something. It doesn't really matter. I also love whether it's men or women. It's just that you get to access the parts of them that really want to make a difference, because they've got to be there for their company, or they've got to be there for others. It's kind of like working with the mum of a family. She wants to be, she looks after herself the least most often, she puts herself last. And I love working with women who are like, I really need to make sure I'm doing stuff for myself so I can have the energy, the vitality to be there for the kids that I'm, growing. Like I've got 3 kids currently under 5. Next month they'll be under 6 because my oldest turned 6, right? And so it's like, whether I'm working with mums who are running a company of the family, or whether I'm working with the multi-millionaires, billionaires running something, and they just feel that they've got themselves to an elite point, or they've gotten themselves to a higher level where they don't so easily just reach out. Whether it was actors and actresses, directors in Hollywood. And when I say that word, I say it with some I said the good ones, it's the good ones, the ones who are actually doing work on themselves to be doing a message that is of light and of truth, and producing movies and working with actors that are all doing the inner work. So definitely these kind of people that I'm working with, it's incredible when they ask the right questions, when they have a shift. It's just like they send so much light into the world.
So they have, working with those few people who are really on their journeys in any industry, particularly big industries that have huge influence, like, television or movies and whatnot, that's extremely powerful places to be working with people, because it gives one the opportunity to make that difference on like you say, on an expanded, almost magnified level. Not to say that any other person who comes in, I'm sure there's plenty of people that all sorts of work have made a difference to, that have had them then catapult off into, all new expansive journeys for themselves, for sure. But I know, I think it's been quite inspiring for me as a kinesiologist, and I know I've learned a lot from you and the early days of working with you and Sydney Kinesiology. You had built a very successful, very tried and true, beautiful programs, beautiful branding, and also beautiful spaces in Darling Harbour, Circular Quay. We worked in Circular Quay there for a period, beautiful views over the harbour and things like that. And so
for those of you who aren't, those of you who aren't in Australia or Sydney, Circular Quay is where the iconic, beautiful Opera House is, if you've ever seen that, where the big fireworks happen, and where we have the big, beautiful, one of the wonders of the world, the Harbour Bridge. So that's where that is. Hello there, Bourne World. That's Kevin Kelly there.
Hey, Kevin. Hi. Nice to see you. Yeah, so it's very inspiring. I think for me, like it was wonderful to come into that crucible of your work and business, and working alongside you there, and still also, and just learning so much about how to really truly step into the entrepreneur as a kinesiologist as well, that I think it's something, I'm not going to say everyone and paint a brush over everybody in the industry, but we often have a bit of an issue around charging enough money, and being and feeling at peace with the amount that we need to charge clients to have our life also work. And so I think it's wonderful to see very successful kinesiologists who are charging healthy rates, and rates that reflect the type of work that you're doing, and the amount of time and effort and energy that goes into websites and products and services that you also provide for people, which segues me nicely into music nutrition, which is one of the major aspects of the products and the services that you supply and create through Alchemy for people to take home with themselves, to continue to have something to work on them, with themselves and on themselves, and lift their vibration and energies, outside of clinic, but also it's a beautiful tool to use inside of clinic as well. Can you explain to people how you came to create music nutrition and how it's beneficial?
Sure, absolutely. I just want to comment on, it was an absolute pleasure working with you at Circular
Yeah,
Quay at the Opera House there. I loved that space and that clinic. It was so expansive, and I used to love just taking the ferry into the clinic, seeing clients there, and then taking the ferry home. It was just
yeah,
it was such a beautiful experience to have in Sydney,
yeah,
Australia.
it
And I
was.
think I had that for about 7 or 8 years, and then I moved it to another place in the city, and the energy just shifted. It just wasn't the same. But in any case, charging and being an entrepreneur in this space, I think that, when people are in the aspect of healing, and I think there's a real disconnect for most healers, not all, but most healers, spiritual people, energy people, and the space
Mm,
around money or that kind of thing. There's so many myth busting illusions that are out there. Number
yeah,
one, the idea that we have to even make money. We can't possibly make money. Money and self-worth, even though it's often talked about, I just see as completely, they can't be acquainted, because you'll never make what you're worth. You'll never
yeah,
make that money of what you're worth. You are
true.
worth more than all of the money in the world. That's number one. The other issue that we
Mm,
might need to address around how spiritual people, energy people, they've just got to charge whatever feels in their heart, or that they feel that a number feels good to them. And if you keep comparing it to a standard rate of a particular industry standard, then you're always going to be stuck in an idea, in a just in a modality. And then if you're in a modality type business and you stay stuck in a modality type business, you'll never really be free. That's why, for anyone who's out there who's doing something, when you do
mm,
your own thing, your own vibe, your own message, call it what you want. You don't have to be the modality.
mm,
Here on this call, you and I, and honoring the amazing and the value that kinesiology does bring to the world, that kinesiology does bring to people. And it's the very foundation of which I've built everything. And it's 28 years, it's 20 plus years, and we both do music, so it's very connected to what it is.
mm,
So that value stuff, everyone has, if you have a service, or if you have something that you feel passionate about, I truly believe that it is your duty, your responsibility, to put that into the world in a way that the consumer can engage with you about. If they don't know what you're doing, if they keep feeling that you're uncomfortable for an exchange or charging something, you're never going to get your message out there. And
mm,
you're never going to get the thing that God gave you, the very thing that prime creator, um, you as prime creator, are working with. You're never going to see that amplify and impact the world in the way that it's supposed to, because
yeah,
we are in a world where there needs to be some kind of exchange, and we just need to create the framework for it. So it's not that serious, it's not that deep. I knew that I wanted to work with certain people for a period of time, and that accelerated, not even accelerated, it just opened me into a world where I knew there was a lot of pain. And in the area of high level success for people, there can be a lot of pain, because just because they have money or they created a career level of success, it many times it hasn't meant that they're happy, that they've got a beautiful relationship with their family or with their partner,
mm,
or
mm,
with their health even. So
yeah,
I think there's unique aspects that people can tap into
mm,
around people that they want to serve. And again, as you grow, like as a mother now, as a mother of three, I'm working with a lot of with a lot of moms. I'm working with a lot of different people. So your own experiences do influence who you call.
absolutely.
Now, how that created music nutrition is what you were asking. The music nutrition
Yes.
series, they're all kind of aligned with as well the colors on this chart. I don't actually have the CDs here. I might actually have the CDs in.
I do. I
In,
do.
do you want to show the CDs if you've got them there? Because I know you work with them. So music nutrition, frequency-based nutrition, medicine. And music nutrition is things that usually are often
Yeah.
are included in different products that I share with people or give people. And all in all, it's just like you have nutrition for your body through the greens that you eat, the minerals that you
Yes.
take, the supplements that you take. You get nutrition in the form of sound and frequency through these. Now, they're still in CD form, which shows you how long ago I created them, back in 2009. And what's fascinating is when I created the first one, I was at the kinesiology. We had a trade show, and I had my stall next to the heart math people, right? You know, the heart math people who talk about coherence, heart, emotional coherence, and all of that. So they were there, and they were measuring people with their little, and you and I both have the device. We have the device that you can hook up, you can get into heart coherence and all of that, and everything just settles in your body, your immune system improves, etc., etc. I was using music nutrition, the very first one that I created, as a sound. So it's the moment people put it on, listen to it, start to breathe, you could see on the chart immediately they would go into coherence. Now, when you're in coherence, you're in deep appreciation, you're in a place of improving your immune system, you are in that happiness quotient, you're in that place of just no tension, your heart's at a great level, your breathing's at a great level, and music nutrition seemed to bring them in quickly. I wish I had that data, but they weren't really open to doing, not that they were open, it was just not their thing. They have a device, anyone in the world can use the device. They train military on how to get into deeper coherence, etc. They're an incredible institution and training organization. So they didn't really need music nutrition, though it was a very fascinating thing that we had there. And so basically the music notes go from C to C. There's 12 notes in a scale, and they each have a particular frequency or vibration. They each have a scalar frequency. They also have certain Tesla frequencies in there embedded in them, and all the frequencies they're all embedded frequencies about being worthy, about stepping into divine pure health, divine pure truth, divine power. So it's all about stepping into your divinity, and they're all coded with those sounds. And they usually come as a package when people buy the quantum healing mats, which you have behind you. I've got one over there. So there's all integrated about going quantum. So music nutrition was always going to come into my life. And it really dawned on me one day back in 2008 that I was not supposed to be just doing one-on-one sessions, because I couldn't reach enough people. And you are supposed to record music and sound. And it wasn't just about singer-songwriter stuff. It was about creating a healing experience. I absolutely resisted it for a couple of years, until I started to use my voice in meditation retreats that I ran, and people would have spontaneous bursts of crying and releasing things. Like, I haven't released that thing in 16 years until you sang. I was just like, oh, okay, I better listen then. Like, I kind of was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, as in, I never honored it. I never took my gift for what it was, because I think I was just too young or not appreciative of it. I just was like, well, anyone can open their mouth and make a sound. I kept devaluing myself inside of it, because I always used to put more value in somebody writing a song or producing something or putting all this money behind something. I never actually just acknowledged the simple alchemy of time, place, and space, the three golden keys to making a change. Yeah. Which is what I'm teaching at our Sunday retreat in 2 weeks here in Sydney. We're going to be teaching at a center here in Neutral Bay, just a 2-hour event. But the 3 golden ingredients, which anyone on this live is going to get, is really your intention, sound, and light. And both these 2 things are free. All of them are a form of frequency, but sound is a frequency and light is a frequency. So when you're using these 3 things, that is really the key ingredients for a transformation. So I basically downplayed, like, I always was more into the complex and interesting, but when I realized that actually sound and whatever it is that I was doing in a quantum healing meditation with people in those retreats, when there was all these crying and releasing, I just went, oh, I need to just be a little bit more humble about what's going on here and just really honor, and then I started to listen from a different place and go, okay, I do need to do these CDs. It's not about me as an artist, or I used to go into that space, more of that ego of something that I needed to create because I wanted to be creative. This was actually now became a necessity and an important healing tool for integration to serve. And when I started to see that like all of you out there who do healing or transformation, when you start to see that, oh, it's not about just what you want to do, it's where your divine will meets your inner will, and where the inner voice is just absolutely in alignment with your, I guess, your God voice or your source voice. And when that's together, then there is no like, what's ego? Nothing. You just have to do what you have to do, and you have to deliver. And for me, it was about getting into the studio, putting it and really recording something that people can take away. Yeah. So that's how Music Nutrition was born.
Yeah. And
Got
you've
some
now got a
love out there.
series that
What's that?
address, you now have a series that address, for example, Sounds of Solace. Number 1 is Sounds of Source, the embodiment
Yeah.
of Source. I am safe and connected. So you have a series ranging up to like number 9 now. You just released 9, was it? And they all address different areas of the nervous system, the chakra systems,
Yeah.
different emotional states, vibrational states.
Well, let me read to
and
you.
almost
Let me read
yeah.
to you. Let me just read. Let me get a quick reference, and I'll read to you one of them. Let me do the one where you are featured in the harp. I'll tell you,
Nice.
because we've got Angela on harp on one of these, and I've got some incredible musicians all around the world actually who've contributed incredible pieces of their own passion. Angela's a beautiful harpist. So let me, and what I would do is, you know, I would actually test where people are, whether it's through kinesiology or where the client vibrates, where they are
Yep.
on my scale here, kind of
Yep.
where down here is feeling powerless and like I can't, I'm in a lot of debt consciousness for we've got prosperity here, and we've got
Yep.
state that you're in here. So, you know, I would basically test where people are at before they would listen to the
Yep.
sound or before they lie
Yep.
on the mat, right? So they might feel, a lot of people feel numbness, for example, or grief or guilt somewhere down here.
Yep. Yep.
And we'd pick the emotion that's like relevant to that. So it might be, oh, they're in a lot of reactivity, or they might be feeling like, you know, things are really confusing for them or something. They'd pick the emotion.
Yep.
And then I would pick the sound, or they would pick the sound or the color that they're drawn to. And as I'm going to use the example, Music Nutrition Sounds of the one that you've got the harp on, that is the one that we released in the one that released in, where was it? Do you want to tell where we released that while I'm looking for this?
So we recorded that.
We released it at the Uluru event, at the Uluru.
Yes.
For the first time at the Uluru event.
Yeah, so end of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here it is. So basically, I found it now. And so yeah, Angela did the harp, and this was an interesting one to record because it kept going back and forth because the harp wasn't the right tuning. And this is called Sounds of Resolution. And it's funny because it's around that it was at the end of the first year of COVID, you know, and I could feel the energy coming up that the earth needed, that our world needed, our consciousness needed. And it was about being the embodiment of resolution and choosing resolution. So it says, I am the embodiment of resolution. Yes, I am. I am resolved expression. Yes, I am. It was about the power of self-expression, integrity, truth, awakening, intuition, stability, purity, and clarity. And what you'd be letting in. So every sound has a letting in quality, which for this one is resolved expression, universal truth, self-expression, completion, resolving unfinished business or communication, confidence in speaking, clarity, wisdom, transparency, compassion, stability, purity, embodying integrity and truth. You'd be letting go of misperceptions, old stories, deception, illusion, needing to finish or fix unresolved business, which means, in other words, allowing it to resolve itself. Sometimes we don't have to confront things. Things can just be left to resolve themselves. Gossip, distortion, blocked mind, unlimited thinking, patterns, beliefs, or drowsiness, confusion. So then it has the throat, was the related chakra, and it's the 741 hertz, and the key is G sharp. So that's what's in every recording. I don't know that you can hear it if I play a little bit of the sound, but you'll be able to hear Angela's harp in here. And so how you use these as a practice, like a lot of practitioners get them, a lot of psychologists get them, people who do hypnosis, and they basically just use them by, you know, going through the different sounds, different colors. And usually if the client resonates with a particular color, you just play that sound. So I'll play a little bit of this one.
Yeah.
Might be a little, I don't want to be too loud. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Great, because I can't, because I don't have my earphone. I'd have to put on this other headset. 1 second. Yeah, so that's so a little. I'll just move it forward till there's a little bit of harp going there. Starting to rain here.
So it's nice and cool here today, which is welcome.
So each sound also has a vowel sound. So this one is that I. You can feel sometimes when you even tone with it, for those of you who like to tone, you can feel the harmonics in your own voice come through. There's Angela's harp coming through right there. So beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you can hear that. So there we go. So there's just a little sound bite of that sound, and it just moves forward. Yeah, so it just goes through a journey, and people, you know what, people have quite an experience with them. I don't want to underestimate them, because look, even though I've already created them, it's just one of those things. You create them, you let your babies go, and they go walk about in the world and go where they need to go. It's just,
well, I guess that's the beauty of
kinesiology.
It's the beauty of kinesiology as a tool, because if we look at its birth through chiropractic, actually, and the focus there is the structure for chiropractors, and that's, I mean, there are many chiropractors who are doing lots of other wonderful things with that, and still use a kinesiology, the actual muscle monitoring. So putting pressure on a muscle, the muscle will either hold, showing it has integrity about a subject or something that we're talking about, or a food or a person or an environment. If when we're talking about that food or person or environment, that muscle just will not hold, it shows that there's some stress in the nervous system. That's a very basic way of explaining it, but that's how we might use it. So it's lovely as kinesiologists that really, you know, the world is your oyster as to what you would like to dive into and expose people to see how their nervous system responds. And people will often choose a kinesiologist that's like, you're very somatic in that you have sound, you have you know, that we have, you know, touch therapy, where you could be utilizing meridians or acupressure points or whatever. It tests up as being really helpful for that person to shift it. Then we have the music nutrition, which you can muscle test through to see whether there's could be an emotion on there. Maybe they won't muscle test to any of the emotions, but when you get them to look at the color on the package, they have an association with it. So that's how you might get into it. Then on top of that, your clients have the experience while they're lying on the massage table of being on the quantum biohealth mat, which is like this layering of not only, you know, muscle testing and tapping into sound and frequency, but then we have this incredible healing tool on top.
Do you want to see the mat? I can have
I'd love to
show you. I mean, look, you've got it there behind you, which is kind of
cool.
I can definitely
give me a sec, I'll turn it on.
No, I can bring over mine.
It's all good.
Actually, no, you're in a look at that. You're right there. So maybe you can
I'll switch it on.
I've got mine right there. I'll just
everyone
back here.
Everyone can see in the background.
Mine's back there on the table. So there's mine over there. And Angela is going to show you hers. There you go. You can show them yours. I don't have to show them mine. You can show them yours.
That's right. So you can see the actual mat there.
Yeah.
I'll just
and it turns on. You've got the light.
I've got it on, so I'll just flip it up there a little bit. It's the full size of the massage table, pretty much, for everyone who can see.
Yeah.
And you can see the jade, or you can, from what I understand with Yanyi, you can choose all sorts of different crystals, or there are, but we have jade and black tourmaline here. We have the infrared also in place there, and there's photon and PMF embedded in this mat as well.
There's also extra crystals in there, which are also embedded with Tesla technology, which is there. And you've got a little, you've actually got a little, one of these little things, which I'm going to show you. See this
Yes.
little thing here? I'm just going to show it up there on it because I've got two. We've got
Have I got
we're
mine?
streaming to YouTube and we're also streaming here.
We're streaming all over.
We're streaming all over. So I know if I'm not
Can
doing it.
everyone? You probably can't hear that.
No, you go, you do yours.
Can you hear it? You probably can't hear that.
No.
It's
Hold it up,
moving.
hold it
Just
up.
so you know, when I put this little guy, which has got a little thing inside of it, on the mat, it's just turned off, which is hilarious. Basically, it scrolls through the pulsed electromagnetic therapy, and the way you can see that it's working is that little magnet or piece of metal inside will shake around. So it's pretty cool.
And it will shake around. And what's good about seeing that is that it's actually 10 centimeters off the mat. You don't have to have the mat on. So it's naturally cycles on and off every 20 minutes. So that just shows that after 8 minutes on being on my mats, right? What happens after 8 minutes is that you, on dark blood analysis, you actually see the immune system and the blood cells start to move and circulate much better. And so sometimes on live blood analysis, it can be very gluggy, the cells of blood. But when you get on that, and that's a great detox, especially when people have had certain medical treatments, or if they've been in and out of hospital, or people who've actually been who have been detoxing from just having too many different kinds of, I don't even know if I can say this live, the
medical interventions.
So some of these things, if they have taken them or at whatever, it doesn't have to be one for what we've just gone through the last couple of years. It can be other ones. There's sometimes you just need to detox because there's a lot of heavy metals. There's a lot of other stuff that we're not always aware of inside of these things, and sometimes our bodies just have a really bad reaction to them. So this has been a great detox, especially when you turn it up to over 50 degrees. It starts to, PubMed articles have done studies on this and have shown that above 50 degrees, it starts to break down early stage cancer cells in the body, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's excellent.
So incredible on how it works.
Yeah. That's right. So people can, I'm only now just starting to break through the surface of, I've been watching an amazing influencer called Carrie B. Her handle is Carrie B Wellness. I must remember her last name. Go check her out, Carrie B Wellness. She talks about light, frequencies, infrared and its power. She also talks about the power of photons and electrons when we're grounding ourselves on the earth. And it was only in listening to her, I mean, I've had this mat for a while now since she created it, and every client comes in and for the most part, they all enjoy that as just an added bonus while they're in the session to be, calming the nervous system and exposing them to that far infrared light and the photon and pulsed electromagnetic therapies.
We've also loaded them though. We've also loaded them with the music nutrition. So the field that the mats are in, we've each one is embedded with the music nutrition frequencies, which is only going to assist you. And there's only things to assist your divine expression of who you are for body repair and for you stepping into the divine health, divine remembrance of your perfect health. We've got Catherine down there, Katie Sausage, mostly loving my mat. Yes, you've got one too. We've got a couple of people on this live who actually have one, I believe. Are there any questions? Just thought we'd just write if there's any questions out there. And while you're typing them, just on the mat, you were saying there's also we've also put the alchemical, the platonic metals, it's gone out of my head right now. Metatron's cube is infused on the back of it and different parts of it. So if you've got any questions about the light or the photons on how they work, then please do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. The Root Place of Health, hello, says what's the mat called and where do you get it?
Oh, okay. So the mat is called the Quantum Biohealth mat, but it kind of goes between the Quantum Biohealth mat and just the Quantum Healing mat. I had some problems with getting the domain, so we'll see which ones ends up. It's the Quantum by Helmet, but there's a link in there is a link in my handle on Instagram, and yeah, we send it all over the world, and it's quite incredible. It's yeah, look, it's incredible. I had it. I'd love to show you photos, but I haven't prepared them to be able to share them on Instagram. But I had them. Angela visited me after I had my baby twice, and I had the mat. I was in recovery post pregnancy, and I brought the mat in with me, and all the nurses are going, "Oh, what's this?" And the inflammation in my ankles went down like so quickly. Possibly had something to do with how much you were massaging my feet. I don't know, maybe, or Catherine, one of them. But I definitely had the mat there, and it assisted me so I could literally walk within 24 hours of my surgery. Whereas the first time I had a baby, I couldn't walk at all. I do believe the mat has saved my life in many ways. I am very proactive with always, investing in just things that keep elevating my health. I love to do preventative, but also things that keep, because I believe that we're only using we're using such a small amount of our capacity. And I feel like we're built for something more. We're here to do more. And we shouldn't be having as many health problems that we have. We have so many health problems, which is what keeps us in a job, Angela. At the same time, it's like I just want to keep pushing the boundaries and going next level is in so many ways on what we can do. The root place of health, yes, it is amazing. Do we know each other? See, I don't know people's Instagram handles. You could be Helen for all I know. I don't know. I feel the
Katie Sausage says she can feel the release of fascia while she's on the mat.
Do you want to explain what fascia is to the audience?
Well, for people that look, I'm starting to really get excited about fascia actually, and looking to learn more about how we as kinesiologists can work with fascia as part of our toolkit of helping people to release stress and trauma that's held in the body. But I mean, on a very basic level, if you imagine when you get a piece of chicken out of the fridge, and it often has that really kind of almost like a white slimy film on the top of the meat. Well, if you imagine, the fascia is actually that, and it's the thing that has your muscles be able to slide and glide over between the skin and the actual muscle itself. And it's literally, now they've discovered, is the largest organ in the entire body, and it is like an organ. And so that fascia, you can literally be working on somebody's leg with points or massage and be making a difference to a point in their shoulder. Almost like if you imagine if you grab the back of my t-shirt but really, really tight down here, and then I tried to move my shoulder, it would feel, like you had a cat suit on and you pulled it, you'd have trouble. So fascia can be affected. If we've got an issue down in the foot, we can have an issue in the neck. It's a really fascinating thing. And fascia release is becoming something that we're understanding is extraordinarily powerful for the body. And it's just this layering in between the muscle and the skin. And now the science is really only just catching up to some of the therapies we've done for many, many years, where you'd maybe putting hands on a point, very, very light touch, which is all fascia needs. It actually doesn't need to be rubbed really difficultly at times. And next thing, someone has this huge shift up in a different part of their body, and we've all thought, oh gosh, it's quite miraculous. But no, it's actually this communication system throughout the entire body, fascia being one of them, and extremely important. So my advice is for people to look more into fascia, because I think over the next few years we're going to see how much of a role that's going to play in people really reaching their peak health and understanding it. And I even heard the other day that cellulite, we've all got a bit of it, to varying degrees. It's not lumpy fat. Like people have thought, it's actually areas where, if you imagine the fascia, parts of it comes down into the muscle, or down through the actual tissue. If a part of that has got hooked or caught, it'll start to pull and cause almost like a lumpy blanket where it's pulling in different areas so if you work the fascia, you can yes, thank you, Katie. It's the communication between the muscles and the brain. And so if that fascia gets caught, if it gets hooked, if it gets blocked, it'll start to show this kind of a weird lumpy thing. Whereas if you work it, there's the fascia blaster, which apparently looks extremely painful actually, but I'm sure it's amazing. And so there's really great ways of being able to work with things like that. It's not as difficult to have your body resolve things like that much easier than we thought. It's not just we've got a spot where there's a bit of lumpy fat. So it's fascinating stuff. So thanks, Katie, for that. The fact that the mat has that effect on your fascias, very cool.
Well, I would say that the person who commented on that, the Katie Sausage person, they're an expert in the fascia area. No, they are. They're a massage therapist. I know they're a massage therapist. And for anyone else who's joining like that, we're getting some comments. If she feels it at that level, then that's pretty special, and so it's incredible.
It is.
You've also got the mat in your clinic, so she a lot of people do get it through you too. So if somebody's already got one, there's ways that you can just get it through them or through the link on the Instagram. Is there any other questions that you had, Angela?
I think I don't even know how long we've been here. It's been incredible. I think there's so many more rabbit holes that we can dive down, and we will. And just to finish up now, I guess you mentioned that you have an event coming up in a couple of weekends' time. You might like to mention that. And I'd just like to thank you. Thank you for coming on and diving in with us.
I didn't hear you. Went cold. You went silent for a minute there. What was that?
Do you hear me now?
I can now.
Okay, great. I just wanted to thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time and your energy today and diving in with us and helping us to understand a little bit more about the different ways that kinesiology and kinesiologists can work, the type of tools that we often work with, that we are, our personalities are quite different, and therefore the way that we work with people is often quite different and unique, like every single client session. You have an event coming up in a couple of weekends' time. You might want to just mention what that's about, where people get more information about that, where it is.
So that event is a quantum transformation, and we've been talking about a few concepts in quantum on this call and in how that's been incorporated in kinesiology. But as I talked about sound and light, one of the things that we'll be covering in that event in 2 weeks on a Sunday the 12th, it's going from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Sydney time, which means it'll be the day before in the afternoon in the US. You can join online. And if you're in Australia or in Sydney, then please come physically to the event, because there's a very limited amount of people that we can have. I've been told a very specific number. And so what we're going to be doing is a quantum transformation with sound, with light language, with also using kinesiology to identify a muscle test where you're at. But we'll be definitely bringing in working with that light body part of ourselves, because there's actually one of the things that I discovered in all of this learning about the quantum and about really about sound and how powerful vibration is in our whole body, is that what was his name? Fritz. I've got his name somewhere. He actually recognized and proved that there's a light field that surrounds our DNA. And that light field that surrounds our DNA, there's an energy exchange of information that can be measured in terms of, his name was Fritz. There it is. No, where is it? I think it was, his name was Albert Fritz, something like. I'll have to reference that for you. But in any case, he identified that it's this field of light that surrounds each cell. So the more we work with light and with our light body and everything that is moving, even with just the infrared, the heat infrared, but also in your own field through meditation and transformation, what you're doing within yourself and talking to your light body. Literally working within it, like talking to it, allowing it to give, like working at a light body level and allowing that to integrate and to send information as it does, has been identified back to the DNA. That is where we can just do so much more, have so many more results that are more effective. So I never used to do that years ago, but I have in the last couple of years been working at that level, and it's changed the way I do everything. So I look forward to doing that transformation. We'll have a couple of mats there for people to try if they want to. You really only need 20 minutes on one to start to feel the effects physically. Yes, the link is in my bio.
Nice.
And yeah, so is there any questions?
Beautiful. Any other questions?
Kinesiology, photons, light, sound.
It's so cool. Seriously, if you want to dive into more information about photons, light, and sound with someone who really explains it in a way that backs the science up, but also like anyone, like any layman person, you don't have to be a scientist to understand. Go to Carrie B. Wellness's page on Instagram. I think she's on Facebook as well. And some of her interviews really go into understanding photons, electrons, all those sort of things. That means that when you come to looking at the mat, you like have this really much richer understanding of how extraordinary it is with so many different aspects to it in the one mat. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And learning more and more about, people talk about light, but truly light as in anything from dawn till 10 a.m. is the frequencies in that are so incredibly healing for our mitochondria, so much so that there's science to explain that maybe the light from dawn till 10 a.m. is more like nutrition than food. More, you know, that you've heard it thrown around over the years where people have spoken about, oh, you know, sometime we won't need to eat food because we'll just be exposed to light.
The sun. And
yes, but it's actually scientifically proven that it does feed the mitochondria.
Well, it is. And like, again, like you, not only do you have it feeding the mitochondria, for those of you who don't know what the mitochondria are, which is also what the quantum healing mat directly works on, is mitochondria is the energy production of the cell. So if you can get into working and using, whether it's supplements, whether it's anything that you want to use that's going to increase the activity of the mitochondria, hint, just meditate for it, you know, and dive into have a direct conversation with your own mitochondria to function as divine perfect health, anyone who's got energy challenges, right? So that's one way that you go and talk to that aspect of your body. But imagine it's the light that does that. The light, so light from dawn, like you said, light when you're working with the mat using the infrared, the far and the near. So it's completely incredible on what you can, and what one of my amazing teachers, Lena, talks about. You know, she says, and she's from Power, Passion, Freedom, by the way. I love her work. She talks about light being the thing that gets you to go from one dimension to another. The vitamin D is the light moving that assists you to move from one dimension to the next. And if you also think about it, it's really the alchemy of not just the fields, the light, but the only way we can keep flipping into a new aspect of being, a new reflection of self. If you think about the holograms, it's having light source. We actually need more light sources to reflect and create new versions, higher aspects, higher versions of ourselves. How cool is that? So
absolutely.
You know, working at this level of light, like you just go so much deeper and so much deeper, and who knows what is waiting for you on the other side as you integrate the information from that field. Absolutely.
Well, on that incredible note, thank you so much for coming on today with us. I knew it was just such a privilege and a pleasure. If there's if people have heard anything today that they really resonated with and they wanted more information about, or you know where to go, contact Anikiko. She's on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anywhere you look, you'll find her. The Music Nutrition is available. You can find it to purchase on most of the platforms, I'm assuming, Anyi. And Anyi actually has some incredible other musical works that she does, not just. Maybe sometime we can talk a little bit more about that and where you're going with all of that. But if there's anything that you would my deep pleasure, the Rip Place of Health, thanks for coming on today. And you know, we can catch up again with Anyi and dive a bit deeper into some other topics, because there's plenty to talk about, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness, we could go on for hours. We're both motor mouths. We loved you all. Thank you for being present. And I think that we're going to do a live meditation soon. I think we're going to do a nice live one. So maybe you'd like to join me for that at some point, Angela. Let's do something like that in the next week.
That'll be fun.
Yay. All right.
All righty.
Out.
Ciao, everybody.
We appreciate you. I show end now. And okay, share. And I think I can add you. Okay, I'll share it in a second. And thank you for everyone who was watching on YouTube. And we are ending the recording here. Angela, it's been lovely to be interviewed by you today. I appreciate you. You always ask beautiful questions. Hold on, I can't hear you because I've got to go here.
That's okay.
That's just to stop the feedback from happening.
My deep pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to diving deep again very soon.
We will do it very, very soon. All right, over and out.
Bye.
Bye.